It's official. I just declared for the 2027 WNBA draft in April. Join me in this journey.
Enes Kanter Freedom decided he's going to throw his hat into the WNBA.
The WNBA does not ban men who identify as women right now from playing in the league.
He would dominate the WNBA without batting an eyelash.
The number one prospect in the history of the WNBA.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. My team and I have carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in May 2027. I am definitely not here to mock, make fun of, or disrespect any community or personal choices. I am simply asking that the current rules be applied equally to everyone.
Okay, comment on clip number 1 here. Enes Kanter Freedom, I believe his name. He's a former NBA professional basketball player here in the U.S. I believe that he was one of the top round, maybe even first round draft picks when he entered the NBA. The guy, I'm over 6 feet. He's significantly taller than me. And so he's saying he's going to apply for the draft to play in the women's professional basketball league. Let me explain what's happening here real quickly. There's been a number of comments by folks, ladies, within the women's NBA league, the WNBA, who have come out supporting trans and letting trans be included in sports at some level, allegedly. And so Enes is now saying, okay, he's going to declare that he's trans and he's going to submit himself to be part of the 2027 draft. Let's see the next clip here.
Yeah, and my friend Enes Kanter Freedom is the first one to say it, and I think people can say this is a gimmick, it's a stunt, but what it does do is force the issue. The WNBA has a decision to make here. They're either a women's league, which is why the W is before the NBA, or they're not a women's league.
Here with us now is Royce White. Good to see you, sir, although I don't know if I should be calling you sir given the latest here. So, Royce, what are you hoping to get out of declaring for the WNBA draft?
I'm just having the time of my life. I'm living in my feminine era. I'm definitely going through a glow up.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, I'm going through a huge glow up right now. And I can't believe all the hate I've received. That's probably the most shocking thing is the hate that I've received in the first 72 to 100 or so hours of my trans existence, my public trans existence. The left is just vicious. Death threats, you should commit suicide, your mother should be ashamed. It's absolutely eye-opening, the hate that trans people have lived with. It's just a shock that most of it comes from the American political left.
Michelle Tafoya also went on to say when she was talking to us that she used to cover the league in the early years, and it was about celebrating women in sports. Your thoughts on how far the NBA or WNBA has gotten away from that?
I feel like you're baiting me, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. Michelle Tafoya needs to get her priorities straight about the sanctity of life and the unborn women in the womb. And once she gets those things clarified, then her and I can discuss my transgender future in the association.
All right. Well, speaking about your transgender future in the association, in all seriousness, I mean, what do you think it took to get the WNBA to this particular point? Because the league is saying this is a nuanced issue, but in reality, it seems very clear that it's not.
Well, yes, certainly not a clear-cut issue. And I think that I should get a chance to play. I think Enes should get a chance to play. I think all sometimes identifying as transgender black lesbians should get a chance to play. That's my official identity. I'm a sometimes identifying as a transgender black lesbian, and we should all have a fair shake per the rules. I mean, let's just follow the rules as they're stated, and I think we'll be able to elevate the game, and that's what's most important. I want to bring more focus to the superiority of the WNBA.
Well, the leaders of the WNBA, they've come out, they're pretty hot under the collar about this whole thing. And they say that they don't want, it feels like it's politicizing it. But when they had coaches that were wearing, after Sophie Cunningham's comments, were wearing trans kids' rights.
Okay, let me say something about this second clip with Royce White. Again, he's also acting on this concept that if you say you're something, you are that something, even if it goes against traditional biological scientific definitions. So he's pushing that, well, if it's all about you can identify yourself as a woman when you have all of the genetics of being a man, well, Royce White is saying he's declaring he's a sometime identifying as a trans woman for the purposes of playing basketball. So what has happened is he's gotten major threats and backlash from the liberals or progressives or many in the pro-trans or these pro-fluidity folks who support the fluidity of being a man or a woman, that you can flow back and forth, or you can change, or you can be born one thing and be another. So he's putting forth that he's identifying as a woman. So let's finish this second clip here.
T-shirts and trans this, and that apparently in their minds wasn't politicizing it. What's your sense of where the league leadership is?
Well, I'm not your typical trans activist or transgender or trans adjacent activist in this regard. Although I am sometimes identifying as a black transgender lesbian, I do believe there's a time and place for trans, and it's not with our nation's children. And so I'm much different in my beliefs about trans rights and the politicized nature of the conversation than many of my other trans counterparts or feminist counterparts.
All right, Royce White, thank you very much.
So again, on the second clip, Royce White, so what he's saying, or the point he is pushing, is if it's all about what's in your head and what you identify with, and that people can simply say, I'm this, I'm that, and without any proving that everyone has to accept that. And actually he's putting his finger on what's been going on for a while now, where groups of people that support there being multiple genders, or that you can change your sex, your gender. He's pushing the point that if it's all about identifying, well, he's saying he identifies as a woman sometimes. And for those who are threatening him, or those affiliated with the WNBA who have promoted that trans should be included, that trans women, men who were born as a man with the chromosomes, the genetics, has all the features of a man, can just say they identify as a woman, they should be included in sports within leagues or within teams or within play that's supposed to be reserved for women. He's saying, well, he's sometimes a woman and he wants to play against the professional women. And again, remember, he's a former NBA professional athlete in the men's league, and I believe he also was a top round draft pick in the men's league back when he was drafted into the NBA. And I believe he's around 34, 35, as well as Enos Cantor Freedom, 34, 35. So they're still in an age range that they can perform at a pretty high level. And let me say this before we finish the second clip with about what Royce White is saying. Men, if you look at the stats, the averages, their physicality, the science of it, they have a higher ceiling on average of their strength capability versus the average woman. They have a higher ceiling as far as their speed, as far as their size, their weight. So you really, generally speaking, on average, men have an advantage for competing in things that require strength, speed, size. So just to wrap up this commentary on this second clip, you really, if you want to say gender is fluid, or whether you're man or woman is fluid, or that there's multiple genders and all this sort of thing, but you're not willing to accept when people act on that is contrary to what you want them to do, you're making things just, there is no standard. I mean, it's crazy. And unfortunately, we may have this go all the way to the Supreme Court, but we got a problem on the Supreme Court, because at least one of the Supreme Court justices has declared that she don't know what a woman is, basically. Let's see this third clip and you'll see I'm not making this up.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
If the Supreme Court cannot provide a definition of a woman, America is in a very, very dangerous situation here, because this case may become a case or situation with Enes Kanter Freedom and Royce White. If they are not allowed to play and other trans are, welcomed, or the door is open to them to play in the Women's Pro League, that's going to be a suit. If they are allowed to play, and if they play full out as competitive as they did in the men's league, the NBA, some women are going to be hurt, and that may be a case, a liability case against the WNBA. Or if they come up with new rules that basically are excluding certain trans, that's going to be probably a lawsuit. And if this thing goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, you got justices saying, I don't know what a woman is, that's going to be a problem. Let's show you, if it's all about what's in your head and what you say, people have to accept it. Let's see what Piers Morgan says and acts on that theory that is what you say, everybody has to respect it, despite whether other people can see any evidence or some evidence or no evidence of what you're saying.
Okay, why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was.
Well, I'm serious. If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is, why can't I, on International Women's Day, say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
I think taking it to a kind of absurd status,
I think
we're
that's
talking about quite a
with
strong
respect, I think that
change.
you'd already opened the absurdity door by saying it is limitless. You can do what you like. Anyone can say I'm a woman. So I simply ask you, why can't I?
Okay, so Piers Morgan, he's saying, well, if you can simply say, you have these people saying, you got to call me she when they were born as a male. You got these ones who were born as a female, but they now saying, you got to call me he. And then you got some people saying, you got to call me they, which when I learned to read and write and speak, they refers to multiple persons. And then you got, I don't know how many umpteen other pronouns that people can choose, and they can try, put pressure on people. You got to call me this, you got to call me that. Let me get back to this specific case. So here on this last clip, we're going to show you This is a clip from a well-known person on the internet. He shares a clip of what's happening right now with one of these men who now claims to be a woman playing in the French league. Here's the deal. What you're going to see in this video clip, after he makes his comments, you're going to see he's showing you some footage of a trans person, a man who says he's a woman, is allegedly, I believe, what is his stance, showing him playing against women in one of the French women's basketball leagues. And his stats, I mean, he's dominating in that league. This is what's going to happen in America, and it has started to happen up and down from those who are minors and competing in sports, whether it's, for kids or young people, young ladies, young men in sports and school. We already seen this where young men are coming along and blowing out young ladies. You'll see this. We're already seeing this at the college level. We're going to see this more at the pro level. If this sort of fluidity and everything is okay and good, if you think it's so, it is. You're going to see. So let's show you this last clip here.
Matter of fact, I'm the prosecuting attorney. Let's bring up Exhibit A. This is a transgender person. Look at this dude. They ain't even trying no more. I felt like trans people used to be like, I want to look like a woman so I can fit in. They ain't even trying. Homeboy running around with a cup on. He ain't even trying. He just let his hair grow out, put a ponytail, and everything else is all man. He ain't got no breasts or nothing. He ain't even trying. He probably ain't even taking hormones. They lazy trans now. They just lazy. 6'3", almost 200 pounds. Play in the women's league in France. Lord, if I have 3 wishes, one of them will be, let him play in the WNBA. Let him play. I'll sponsor it. Let's do a give and go. How do we get him in? I want to prove to the world that y'all shouldn't be. Keep playing, and this is what's going to happen to you. Joanna Man is going to go into the WNBA and smoke these women. Exhibit B, roll it.
Tick, tick, boom. Making noise. Go, baby.
All I'm hearing is grunt. Look at this mother right here. Just Debo. Just Debo style. We got an average of 21 points and 20 rebounds. Because they all bad players. But he put me at 100 if he had some assists. He probably doing all the work and they put him on the bench so he don't just blast these people.
Okay, so let's give you some final comments here. It is obvious to those who are reasonable that there's a difference between men and women as far as our physical structure, as far as our physiology. And one of the reasons why, going back farther than I can tell you, we've separated highly competitive physical sports leagues between, those who are female versus those that are male, even down, to young people. We've separated these physical competitive sports because men just genetically, on average, have greater strength, size. We're just built differently, and it's really detrimental to young ladies and women's safety to ask them to compete physically against men. Yeah, there's some women who can outperform some men, but that's not what when you're talking about, you're pulling the best of the men and you're pulling the best of the woman. There's such a divergence in the physical strength, size, speed, and you don't even have to go to the professional level. You can go down college level, you can go high school, you can go junior high. I mean, you can go down pretty far. That those of us that are aware and our eyes open realize as kids the difference between our strength, our speed, the size between male and female. So ladies that are supporting, yeah, trans should be allowed, you're really opening it up to females being hurt or basically being totally pushed out of sports. Because once the men start entering and invading into women's sports, the top performers are going to be those men. You don't have to play with it and try to save somebody's feelings. God did not make women to typically be at the same level of physicality, physiology, as far as strength, size, as men. So we'll end on those comments. Please put your comments in to the comments below, but refrain from using profanity, whether you agree or disagree. Let's keep it clean as far as the language. All right, have a good one.